everyone. Welcome to Zenith Workouts. I'm Rebecca Levy. Today we're doing a quick level 1-2 or 1.5 modified Pilates class. It's just you and your mat. And we're going to work, I guess it's going to be pretty general, but I will give a little attention to the hips and sideline. Don't turn it off. You love it. Your body loves it. We're going to start kneeling. And if you have any difficulties kneeling, then you can certainly put something under the knees, a little more cushioning. You could do this in standing. It's some nice side stretching, nothing too dramatic. So you could roll up your mat or whatever to make yourself comfortable. First, getting our breath though. So trying to feel on your knees that you're still in your neutral pelvis, which sometimes is hard if you're tight in the front of the thighs or in the deep hip flexors. Some of us will get pulled into being in that position. So really try to get an idea that the tailbone is tucked forward a little bit, and you still, even though you're on your knees, that you still have that neutral pelvis or as close to it as you can be comfortable. And then just take a nice breath in. Try to focus on the expansion in the low ribs. And as you breathe out, that gentle lift of the pelvic floor, the gentle drawing in of the deep belly, and the gentle narrowing of those same ribs. Beautiful. And then float the arms up to be rayed out from your shoulders. And as you breathe in, I want you to keep your beautiful alignment and just open more across the chest. Just press the arms back behind you a little bit. And on your exhale, just pull them in to be shoulder width apart. So breath in to get wide and taller. And exhale to narrow it all and still get taller. And as you press the arms open, 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 you're keeping that alignment in the head and neck, not letting anything poke forward. Good. Staying it wide out to the side, arms directly out from the shoulders on this one. And on your exhale, tipping to the left. So reaching that left arm towards the mat and the right arm up, but more than slouching into it, you're going for a length. You're going to try to imagine that you're getting taller. You're not collapsing in your left side. You're more thinking of the length in your right. And then coming back to the center. Same thing to the right. On your exhale, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Try to keep the hips facing forward, the chest facing forward, the face looking ahead. So there's no rotation. This is just a pure side bend. And back up, and we'll do each side another time. So going for length, going for length, going for length. Back up through the center. And going for length, going for length, going for length. Beautiful. Back up through the center. If it feels right, we're going to add a rotation this time. If it doesn't feel wonderful, then just stick to the pure side bend. But here we are bent to the left arm's reaching down. Right arm's reaching up. You're tall. You're going to keep your hips nice and still, but just bring the right arm around towards the left. So you've just gotten a little rotation through the rib cage area. Release it back. Bend a little deeper if you can. Still going for that idea of length. And once again, add the rotation. Doesn't that feel good? Yeah. Back to the center. Come up through the middle. We'll do the other side. So I find with this one, to be comfortable, it is really important to think of getting taller, to think of keeping that length. Otherwise, it's easy to collapse into it and then not feel so good. So keep the hips facing forward and add the rotation. So the head looks down at the right hand. The left arm comes around. You'll notice that I can't touch my hands together. You have to be pretty flexible to do that. You might do better than me, but if you're getting your hand to touch the other one, you're probably letting the hips pull in. Sorry, there we should be. Release, come up through the center. Take both arms overhead. Interlace the fingers. Press the palms towards the sky, or just grab a wrist if that's not comfortable. And I want you to shrug the shoulders. And then I want you to drop them down. Shrug the shoulders. And drop them down. Beautiful. Good. And then release the arms. Sit back. If you don't like sitting back like this, if this is too hard on the knees, don't worry, you don't have to be here. But our next Our next move is a little bit of strengthening combined with the movement that we just did. So ideally, if you can, you're sitting down. Actually, no, let's start up. This will be easier. Start up in tall kneeling. Take both arms back overhead, not interlaced, just arms straight up from the shoulders. And you're going to go to the left again with the arms, but you're going to let the hips go to the right. And the arms are going to come down as if you're going to touch your mat. And here's where, if your knees are not happy, you're going to just be a little bit higher. Or if your knees are happy to get right down, then you've got a full bend of the knee and a little rotation, right? Which is actually nice for our knees unless we have an old injury that keeps us from doing that. So you go to your limit, the arms go to the right, the hips go to the left, maybe you stop there, or maybe you get all the way down, up through the center, and down, up through the center, and always that idea of getting tall, right? And realizing that this is not for every knee, so don't hesitate. You know, if you've had a knee replacement, if you've had a meniscal injury, then you're here. Small range. Small range. You're still getting all the good strengthening through the side body. Right? It's just a little easier on the knees. One more to each side. If you're not used to doing this, you'll feel it. Beautiful. Perfect. And sit back. Good. If you're tired of being on your knees, I apologize. It's a knee workout. At least the first part. We've got one more to do, and that's our hinge back that you guys love. So if possible, the feet are in parallel. The pelvis is nice and neutral. You're long through the spine, and we're going to bring the arms up to shoulder width apart, wide across the collarbones, a little chin tuck. Breath in to prepare. On your exhale, it's that lift of the pelvic floor, the idea of lengthening in the spine as you hinge back to be in this Z shape, and then use that front body to pull forward. And we're just going to repeat. No fancy arms today. And pull forward. Exhale. And pull forward. And ultimately, if you're keeping the pelvis in neutral, you should feel almost a bit of a stretch in the front of the thighs, the front of the hips, as well as a lot of work in that area as you use those muscles to pull yourself back forward, right? Hold this one back where you're comfortable. We'll bring the palms together, and then just for 3, we'll open the arms, and exhaling to hinge it back a bit. If you're already at your max, you just do the arms where you are. You want to be comfortable in your spine, and always that idea of lengthening it. And then use that front body to pull forward, sit back, and we're going to come down from here onto our bellies. Good. So let's have the feet close together today, but turned out slightly. So think of turning the kneecaps outward away from each other. Think of turning the toes out. Take a nice breath in. And on your exhale, draw in with the deep belly and peel up with the face and the throat and a little bit of the breastbone. Lengthen out of the crown of the head and then peel down. Exhaling to come up. And just doing this lovely, it's almost a warm-up for the spine, right? You're really focused on drawing in with the belly to keep light, to keep pressure or increasing pressure out of the hip pointers. And you're thinking of keeping a gentle chin tuck so that you don't do too much with the neck. Your goal, your focus area is that mid-back, like right between the shoulder blades, where we often don't have a lot of extension movement as we get older. Good, hold this one up. Good. And take the arms out to the sides, so the forearms are just on the mat beside you. And without losing any of your height, nice breath in. And just float the right arm. Release it down. And do the same with the other side. just alternating with your breath and trying to maintain that strength in the front body as you work a little endurance in the back body here. Okay? Because you're using your back, your postural muscles to hold you up in this position. And then you're also adding to it by lifting an arm. And you want to make sure you don't get complacent in the abdominals. You want to make sure you keep the strength there, the pelvis nice and still. Good. Let's make that one the last one with the left. Take a breath in, leave the arms where they are, but relax the upper body. And then exhaling to come back up, just to give a little break there. Making sure, once again, you're strong in the abdominals, and we'll try to do both arms this time. So exhaling, don't lose any height that you just established in the breastbone, the throat. Float the arms, release it down. Shoulders are away from the ears. Repeat. And down. And again. Beautiful. And last one. Wide collarbones, broad shoulder blades, long elegant neck. Release the arms. You can bring them back under the forehead. Peel it down. Slide the shoulders away from the ears. On your exhale, draw in with the deep belly and float the right leg. Little repeater with the right here. And again. Feel that pelvis stay still. It's all sort of the right glute, the right buttocks muscle doing the lift, and the abdominals support that movement. Good. One more on this leg. Beautiful. And verify that neutral pelvis. Still happy. And do the left. Exhaling to lift. Inhale to lower. If you get the breath switched, it's not the end of the world. Ever. The breath is just designed to help you coordinate the pelvic floor movement and the deep abdominal support that you might need as the leg reaches its highest point. A couple more on this side. Always going for the idea of lengthening, keeping the knee nice and straight, the toe gently pointed, so that you get a little more than just hip work. You get some focus around the knee, you get some focus at the ankle. Relax and release. Bend both knees. And just let the feet go to the right. A little bit of a roll of the hips and belly across the mat. And to the left. Just that sometimes feels good after we've been working in that extended position. Perfect. And then we're going to spin around to be on our back. Perfect. So find neutral pelvis. Bend the elbows. Have the palms facing in. A little repeater on the right to start with. On your exhale, light bracing first. So drawing in with the deep belly. Feeling that pelvis stay still as you bring the right leg up to tabletop. And we're going to extend it long. All the way down to the mat if you can. And pick it back up to tabletop. If you want to have the hands on the pelvis, just to verify that it's staying still. Holding the low ribs back. Feeling already that this does require some strength in those abdominal muscles. And being sure that you feel the spine nice and still. Good, make that one the last one on that leg. Lower it down. Bring the left leg up to tabletop. And then stretch it out nice and long. Lower it as if you're going to put it right on the mat. Maybe you don't get it quite there before the pelvis moves. Bring it back up to tabletop. But as you lower the leg, sometimes we let the ribs pop. Right? Sometimes we let the ribs shift up, and then we use the back muscles to feel like we've got a stronger support. So really try to hold those low ribs back. if that's your tendency of cheating. Good, last one with the left. Beautiful, hold the left in tabletop. Bring the right up to meet it. Good, and we're gonna go for little toe taps. So just lowering the right leg, keeping that pelvis neutral, bringing it back up, and lowering the left. If you're already feeling good, maybe this isn't your first video of the day, you're warmed up, then you can pass in motion. So you can start to lower the right as the left is coming up, or stick with the more methodical speed if you're just connecting to your core for the first time today. Good. For 2, for 1. Beautiful. And hold the legs in tabletop. Really make sure that you keep the tailbone down, that pelvis in nice neutral. Take a nice breath in, and we're going to straighten both legs. Just to try to feel that length in the back, in the hamstring area, the strength in the front, the strength in the abdominals, and you haven't allowed the space behind your low back to collapse. And again. And that sometimes takes a lot of work, and we might not actually get the knees straight. There are days, certainly, that I start with extending but leaving a little knee bend, just because that's where I can still maintain the neutral pelvis. And then maybe as I repeat, I get a little bit of length in the tissues, and I'm able to get that full knee straightening. So you want to be honest with yourself. If you're really tight in the hamstrings, you're not going to straighten the knees, because you don't want to lose the position of the pelvis and the spine. Good. Let's hold this one up, whether you have the knees a little bit bent or straight, but you're at the point where you're working hard in the hamstrings and you're working hard in the abdominals, and we're going to let the legs open and bring them back together. Open and bring them back together. Ooh, wonder if that hip pop got picked up by the mic. Use the exhale to really zip everything together, making sure you keep that pelvis in neutral, low ribs held back. Perfect. Hold this one out and just bend the knees and bring the toes together and straighten them again. For 4, for 3, neutral pelvis. Don't straighten the knees all the way if you can't keep the pelvis still. Right? You stop where you have to. Good. Zip it all back up and release it down. Good. Come onto your side. Letting that bottom arm be your pillow. Imagining the little space between waist and mat, the hips nice and stacked. Perfect. And we're going to raise the leg, the top leg, and flex it down. Point and raise, and flex it down. Point and raise, flex it down. Point and raise, flex it down. Hold this one up. You might want to take the top hand and put it on the mat, because you do need a little more support for this one, or you can try it without. Try it on that top hip. And you're going to keep the toe pointed, bend the knee as if you're going to drop it down to the mat in front of you, and then flex the foot and straighten the leg out, and see if you can bring it a little bit behind where you were. So it's breathe in to drop the knee, and exhale to straighten it out. Good. The waist still stays nice and still, so you might not get the knee all the way to the mat, and you might also not get the foot far behind you when you straighten it. Your goal is still that nice still waist, but this nice movement at the hip too. Some good strengthening. You can do 3 more. And if the ankle movement is too much to coordinate, you can just leave the the foot movement alone. Focus on the knee. Go ahead, hold this one out with the foot flexed. Reach longer out of the bottom of your heel and lift and lower for 6, for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1, and center and lower. And let's do the other side. Getting that bottom arm to be your pillow, top arm on the top hip at first, or on that top thigh to start with. Think about getting longer in that top leg before you lift. Flex and lower. Point and raise. Flex it down. So just warming up that outer hip, as well as holding the abdominals in Not so much that you can't breathe, obviously, but you know, just that light engagement in the abdominals to really make sure that they're helping you keep the waist nice and still. Okay. Good. And then we'll hold this one up. Bring that top arm to the mat if you wish. Drop the knee on your in-breath. Flex and extend on that out-breath. Beautiful. Let's do 3 more. And this just targets the rotators of the hip a little bit differently than when we do our straight lift and lower, right? It's a very functional movement. Maybe that was more than 3. Let's hold this one out. Really reach long out of the bottom of the heel. Imagine you're trying to reach something just beyond the length of your leg with the bottom of the heel, and then lift and lower. And you should feel that more in the glute area than in the front of the hip. Right, the leg is behind you, the pelvis is stacked, so you're really trying to feel it almost behind the hip joint. Yeah, I think that's enough. And release it down. Beautiful. Coming up, and let's just enjoy a lovely shell stretch after all our efforts. So on hands and knees, nice breath in, and then rock the hips back towards the heels. Taking time for the hips to soften, the back to lengthen, lowering the forehead to the mat, and then wrapping the hands around by the sides, if that feels right. And thinking about the roundness in the low back today in particular. So as you breathe in here, it's like if you imagine someone has a hook on your low back and they're lifting, lifting, lifting towards the sky. So that as you exhale, you can sink a little deeper into that beautiful pose. Awesome. On your next out breath, you can use your hands to help or just roll up without the use of the arms. And come to kneel, take a nice breath in. Exhale. And there we go. Hopefully that feels great. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.